Hi, I'm Ron Nutter, and this is another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter, this time in keeping with the Internet of Things video series I've been working on for several months that I greatly appreciate everybody watching. This time I'm going to walk you through what to look for in a firewall for your Internet of Things network, and that starts now. I was recently interviewed on the local ABC affiliate where I am, and I'm going to play a little bit of that for you, and then I'm going to go over some things with you that didn't make the interview. Well, I think you've got the idea. I don't know how much of the audio came through on that one. There is a link to the full interview with in the descriptions for this video. But we're going to go to another level, because as much time as I had with the interview at the ABC affiliate KMBC, and thank you very much for asking me to come in, there is so much more that we've got to discuss, because the FBI announcement really couldn't go into the details of what was involved. Now, I'm going to switch over here on another screen, and then let's get back here. So, okay, now we should be able to go. Had several different screens to juggle with. But there is so much that we've got to talk about. I want to make sure at least get things started, because this is probably going to be just the first video in the entire series. And this is something that, you know, the router announcement that was out there was basically mostly targeted at what I would call the consumer type of firewalls, the ones you would get, say, at an office supply store or a big box electronics place. D-Link, Linksys, TP-Link. And there's others, but this is the kind of the main ones, because I had several people reach out to me that have the firewalls that are provided by their internet provider, whether it's a cable modem or it's basically what I call the DMARC device that converts from the ISP's system into your home network. And it was mainly just the consumer grade ones, at least this time. And one of the things that the announcement talked about was rebooting the firewall or router as, you know, to do this. And I won't go into the whole story behind that, but that was really just an initial step. And to go into the other details is what we'll be doing within this video. Rebooting it would only get rid of part of the problem. Some of the base code was still active, although some of the domains, or all of the domains rather, were rendered useless because of what the FBI did. And to their credit, they did act quickly on this one. I would suggest several things. Check with the provider whose firewall you're using, or the manufacturer. See if there was a newer update. If there is, get it applied now. Some of the newer router/firewalls, it's just going into the management interface, clicking update, and it will go get it. And if it's got an auto update function, well, I have some concerns about that, but for the most part, it's probably okay to use. So that would be a good thing to have in there. Now, if there is no newer firmware available, then I would suggest getting a copy of what's already installed on your box and reinstalling it. And here's why. Because most of the firewalls that I'm aware of, when you upload new firmware, it overwrites the chip. It's either like something like non-volatile RAM or flash memory. There's different memories that some of the manufacturers will use. By overwriting that, you've got a good chance, and I'm not going to say 100%, because there's variables in some of these devices that I don't know about, but you got a good chance if you reinstall the firmware that's there, that it will overwrite that chip and probably flush whatever is out. Now, having said that, there's no guarantees, but most importantly, if you've made any changes, when you overwrite what's there, you may lose those settings. So go through as best you can and write down the settings, or just do a bunch of screenshots so you can see what you've got to match. And that should make the process fairly, I won't say painless, but hopefully you'll avoid some problems. Now, if the router or firewall, and I'm going to use the term interchangeably, so fellow IT professionals, bear with me, but when I'm dealing with a lot of the people who deal with just the consumer firewalls, they're not going to know things the way we do. So I'm trying to bring everybody onto the same page. My suggestion is, if you have a device that is more than 2 years old and there have been no updates, I would get a new device. Now, there's different costs to this, and that's what we're going to go into next. Now, what we got to do is look at this from two different perspectives. We got to look at consumer firewalls versus business grade. We're going to go over some firewall terminology, because some of this, to help you understand what you're getting for the money, I need to explain some things. And then we're going to talk briefly about segmenting the network, but that's going to be a whole nother video. And I'm going to look to you, my viewers, to help me see how I need to proceed. That's going to best help you. Now, in looking at the consumer versus business grade, it's really fairly easy to distinguish it. The consumer ones are by names, Linksys, Netgear, TP-Link. There's others. They're low cost. Typically, you're looking at, well, on average, $50 to $100. Now, there are some of the consumer level ones that are much higher in price, but they're very specialized, very much for a niche market like those that do gaming. But for most of us, we're not going to have that kind. So this is something to kind of help get you exposed to it. Look for regular updates. Before you buy a new one, look at the newest models that are out. Look at how often they've been updating, because that will tell you more than anything else kind of what to expect. Now, business grade ones, a little more expensive. Oh, and I'm sorry, regular updates. With the consumer grade ones, you have no guarantee they're going to have any updates. You might see one the first few months, first year it's released, and you may not see any after that. Now, I'm just speaking in generalizations, but that's something to be aware of, because how can you be protected against threats that have never been addressed by the manufacturer? Now, when you get into the business grade ones, granted, they're a little more money, but we're talking about names like WatchGuard, RatTrap, Fortinet. These are recognized names, and they have very extensive commercial portfolios, but they have some models that would be a good idea for those of us with home networks, especially that have Internet of Things devices. And when I say Internet of Things, I'm talking Samsung Smart Things, LifeX, well, pick one from down here, the good folks at Sylvania, their bulbs. Anybody who has something that these have an internet connection, you need to have a little bit better firewall, because it's not a matter of if when somebody's going to try to break in, it's a matter of when. Now, they are more expensive. Like I said earlier, the consumer ones, you're talking $50 to $100 on average. The lower end business grade ones, you can get for, well, between $200 to $300 on average. I know it seems like a lot, but now, yes, it's more expensive, but you start getting features that, deal with the Internet of Things functionality. You're going to have regular updates. You may not have monthly, but certainly 2 to 3 times a year, maybe more, and it's not unheard of to have updates more than that. And when we get into some of the advanced features, you could have updates, and this will be automatic in terms of this next set of updates. But there are different services that we're going to get into here shortly that may get updates directly from the manufacturer as much as once an hour. So there's some advantages there. There is going to be a yearly recurring cost. You're getting into a higher level of firewall that's more than just a stateful firewall, allowing it supposedly just things from your network to the internet and only allowing traffic back in that it can see that you originated. That's better than nothing, but not by much, as we'll soon see. Now, like I said, we're going to deal with some firewall terminology. Now, there's several things that we want to talk about. Now, we already talked about a stateful firewall. That's where the traffic from inside, from your side of the firewall or the LAN side of the firewall, goes out to the internet, and then it has a table where it keeps track of where you're going and only allows return traffic from those same sites. That's better than nothing, but as you're going to see, not by much. There are some of these services that can impersonate or hijack what's going on, and what you're looking for here is like the IDS, IPS functionality, and that stands for Intrusion Detection System or Intrusion Prevention System. That's basically IDS tells you there's a problem, but doesn't do anything. Well, the next step is IPS, which is Intrusion Prevention. And this typically is a rules-based situation, although there are some more advanced implementations that'll get into something called heuristics, where it looks at the kind of traffic going on, and it will develop patterns of things. Now, that's one of the newer ways, or what they call in next generation firewalls. You also have malware protection, where it is able to sense certain things that are being downloaded that you may not have requested, or if it hits a certain pattern map. Granted, some of these are signature based, but I would rather have a false positive than have my machine get infected. You're also going to be talking about threat detection and response, and this is where it gets proactive. You have this communication with what I'll call the mothership, and that's where when your firewall sees something that doesn't look right, it can alert the support people at the manufacturer or the vendor. They in turn look at reports coming in from all the devices, and when they see a pattern to it, they can put an update or a rules change or a configuration change of some type depending on the firewall, and it will give you as much proactive protection as you can instead of having to you manually go out and get an update. Now, the segmenting of the network, that's where we get into a little advanced situation, that this is going to take one of the business grade firewalls, where much like on the private side of your firewall now, you're going to see an IP address of like 192.168.0. whatever. And usually you have, for those of us that are router jockeys, you'll have a /24, or you'll see a subnet mask if you look at your PC of 255.255.255.0. You'll see some variation of that. Some of the consumer firewalls use a 172.16. You may see some using a 10. address. Those are all what are called RFC 1918 addresses that are not routable. And that's why your firewall translates the address you're using, or something called NAT, network address translation, and to the public IP address that your provider has assigned to you. Now, we talked about segmenting the network, and I've just kind of given you a rough idea of the IP addressing. Now, this is where your business grade firewalls will have some flexibility to do this. Some of your higher end consumers may, but normally I only see this functionality in a business grade firewall, to where you might have multiple ports on the back. One will be for 192.168.0.1. The next one might be 192.168.1. whatever. The big deal is putting all your IoT stuff on a subnet or a network range other than the one that your personal PCs are using. And then you want to put firewall rules in place that do not allow the IoT things to talk directly to your device. But if you have a laptop and you go to talk to one of them, then that traffic would be allowed through. Granted, this is maybe get a little involved, but there are several different ways that you can probably get people to help you, and even to talk with some of the vendors. And I've got one of them, you'll see a mention in the show notes, Rat Trap. I'm waiting for a device for them right now. Should have it here in the next few days. And that will give us give some ideas of what to do. Because also you see me do videos on the Internet of Things type of traveling smart home, and that's well suited for that because it's very compact, very portable. Their WatchGuard is another good brand. There are others out there. I'm trying to get other companies to send their devices in because I want to help you do a side-by-side comparison. The average price I'm looking at is somewhere between $200 to $300. Granted, there's going to be a yearly recurring cost with most of these, but look at the benefits of this, that you have something that where you've actually somebody looking out for your interest because they don't want their name being tarnished saying, hey, they got infected and they were using our firewall. So you've at least got somewhat of a partner with this. And we'll just take it one step at a time. But this is just kind of a very brief overview. If you have any questions, please let me know because I want to answer any questions you have and help us all, because as you get more and more into an Internet of Things network, which is when you have a smart home, whether you have the LED light bulbs that can be controlled remotely, you can open your garage door, you can change the settings on a thermostat, or check the temperature of your house, turn like an Auric air cleaner off and on. These are the kind of things you have an Internet of Things, because you can't really use that device to get to the Internet, but that device has some presence to where it can get out to the Internet. And this is another thing we really haven't had a chance to touch on, but you're going to see me in both the first volume, and this is the book cover that you'll see within the next few weeks. And there is going to be, I'm already working on the second volume. I didn't think this was going to go into a second volume this quickly, but I kept adding material to this one, and it kept pushing out the date. So at some point I had to say enough is enough. But you're going to see me continue to do the videos. I'm trying to do at least 2, if not 3 a week. There will be affiliate links when I have them. If not, please go out and find something that's going to give you the best protection possible, because you don't want to have to clean up afterwards. There's just too much of a downside if you do have a problem. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not saying the end of the world is coming, but we all have to start taking more responsibility for our networks. But this is just kind of a real basic thumbnail. Pretty much everything you've seen me do in the slide presentation I've got in the description, because we simply, now that, refrigerators have an Internet of Things presence to them. There's so many things out there that, day-to-day use, we may not really think about it, but we've got to start looking at things differently. And that's where I'll share with you what I learned, and I want to help you. If you have any questions on this, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to do what I can, because even though I've got, at any given time, about 200 videos planned, I'm always happy to add another one and bump that to the top of the list to help you get the information you need. And I've got at least one of the firewalls coming in. I'm hoping to hear something back from the folks at WatchGuard, and I'm getting ready to approach the people at Fortinet. So hopefully, if any of you are watching this, that hopefully we can get in touch. And I just want to help everybody get the best solution, because I'm not going to tell you one's not going to work for you, but I'm going to show you what the positives ahead, because you're intelligent, you know what's going to work for you, but at least I can help you navigate through some of the features, and we could take it from there. Well, I've gone a little bit over my time, but we did have quite a bit to talk about tonight, and we'll be doing more in the coming days. So thank you for watching. Please, if you would click the subscribe button if you've not already subscribed to this channel. And if you'd click the like button, I'd appreciate it more. And if you don't feel you can click the like button, please let me know, because I want to produce videos that will help you protect your network and get as much enjoyment out of the Internet of Things as I've been having. So that's all for now. Thank you for watching the channel. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll see you again soon.